hello world controller annotate is using REST controller. Let's write a simple method which returns some message. Public string say hello. And inside this we're gonna return some message. Right? It should be request mapping, and here you can go ahead and just do hello. Request mapping is hello. Return some message here, right? Hello, my dear friend. Welcome to Spring Boot. Okay. Yeah. So we saw yesterday, right? You can just start the application. Go ahead and run as Java application, and just hit the browser. You will get the response. Just control F11. Okay. It will take a while. Just move it. The server will be up. Okay. This is an embedded Tomcat server. The server is started on port 88. We just go to browser and type hello. We'll get that message back, right? Whatever we are returning, that message will be returned. If I change this to post and send the request, can I get the same response or shall I get a different response?
No, post, no, by default it will be guessed. For post, you have to write it. Like what type of mapping it is.
Okay. What about others? Sharath, Abhi, Chintesh, Hari.
Unsupported media type. Sorry.
Method not supported, 405 error code. That is what you are saying, trying to say, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What about others? Vijay, Venkat?
I think it will work.
Okay. Yeah, fine. If correct answer, I don't give any. Okay, gift. If it is wrong answer, I no penalty. Okay. So, okay. So let me hit it and see what is going to happen. Okay. The correct answer is yes. It will support for all methods, right? Request mapping will support for all methods if you don't specify any particular methods. Okay. So if the request is matching, the pattern is matching, it will just forgive the method whatever you set, right? Okay, if you send post, put, get, whatever it is, it will not give any trouble if the request parameter is not matching, and if there is no conflict with the particular pattern, then it will support. Until unless you write some method for post mapping, okay, the same method will support for all methods, right? Until unless you do right value equals to hello and method equals to request method dot post, right? It should be say hello post. Method name should be something different, and here you can just return post, right? So until unless there is a particular method identified, okay, request method supports for all get post, put, fill it. Okay, if it is matching, the URL pattern is matching, then it will support all. Okay, that is okay. That is a feature of Spring Boot, but we are new to Spring, right? We are new to Spring and Spring Boot. We know servlet, how the do get to post method will be executed, but how this say hello is executing whenever we are giving URL pattern, right? How the say hello method is executing whenever we are giving URL pattern hello, and whenever I give hello post method sending, how this say hello post method is taken. So not only two, right? In the real time, you have like hundreds of endpoints. then how exactly this request mapping is executed? Is this the servlet feature? No, right? Servlet means it knows only do get and do post. Then how this method is executed, right? Any idea? Think you came for a new job and I am an interviewer, I am asking, can you answer the question? You cannot be silent, right? In interview,
Spring handlers.
right? Yes. Okay. So it's not container actually, right? It's not directly Spring container do that. Okay. So whatever the life cycle we discussed for servlet, it will be the same life cycle. Dispatcher, servlet, loading, instantiation, everything is same. But we discussed one place, initialization, right? Initialization, servlet init method. From there, even dispatcher servlet also will have an init method because this is one servlet. So from there, the Spring will take control on your web application. Spring will take control on your web application. So there are two things which play the major role. One is handler mapping and another one is handler adapter. I don't know whether you remembered or not. Yesterday while we running the program, I was just showing you some kind of example, right? Okay, you send the get request with this mapping, then this controller, this particular method will execute something like that. I showed yesterday itself in the yesterday's Spring MVC, right? Spring MVC example. In Spring Boot also, it will print, but Spring Boot won't print all those details, right? You have to enable debug logging, right? So that so to check that. But in Spring MVC, it will print by defaultly. In yesterday's example itself, I showed that, right? You send get request mapping with hello, then this controller will get executed, right? So such a kind of mapping. While starting your application itself, as part of Spring container initialization itself, this process will happen, right? This process would have completed. So that mapping is going to be taken care by handler mapping. Handler mapping. It's an interface actually. The implementation is request mapping, handler mapping. What is the implementation? Request mapping, handler mapping. But don't stick to that. Just give a generic naming convention. Handler mapping, right? So handler mapping will identify for which URL pattern and which HTTP method, which method has to be executed. Such kind of mapping is going to be done by handler mapping. Okay. Why I'm saying it's a generic terminology, because for annotations we have one mapping and for functional programming we have another mapping. So here we are using annotation, REST controller, request mapping. So who will take care about this mapping? It's a request mapping, handler mapping. But tomorrow I will show some way without writing controller, without writing REST mapping, you can still do the same functionality whatever we are doing here. That is the same functionality. So there it is not request mapping, handler mapping. It's a router function mapping, which is very new, right? It's like a month's baby concept in Spring MVC. So it's completely a new way of doing the things. Functional programming, endpoint, functional endpoint implementation. But the concept is same, still same handler mapping only. For annotations, it is request mapping, handler mapping. For functional programming, it is router function mapping. So this mapping is going to be prepared by handler mapping, right? The mapping is prepared by handler mapping. But at runtime, who will execute that? It's handler adapter. So first of all, handler mapping will prepare the mapping. First of all, handler mapping will prepare the mapping. Then handler adapter will execute that mapping, right? So there are two different components. Okay. Okay. There are two different concepts. One is handler mapping and another one is handler adapter. I'll tell you the real-time scenario where you can compare with these two. In Hyderabad, right? In the most of the times, or like, yeah, I'm living in Hyderabad. That's why I'm saying that example. Hyderabad, most of the times, most of the roads will be like digging. Most of the times they will always dig that, right? Sometimes GHMC people will dig that. Sometimes the cable network people will do that. Sometimes this water board people will do that. Okay. Actually, laying the roads, it's again taken care by some other uh, section. digging roads will be taken care by some other, like different section people will come and like they dig the road and they just leave it as it is. Then you can ask them, hey, when you just do this damage to the road, then you would have completed this, right? What is that section person? People will say, for example, water board people will came and water people board people came and they did some damage and they simply close it, right? They simply, it's not like a full repair they do it. They simply do it like some mud and they will pour, right? Some stones they will pour and they leave it as it is. But you can ask, right? Hey, you damaged it, you have to get repaired. Then what that person will say?
It's not my
It's
job.
exactly right. He simply says, no, no, no. My job is water coming or not. If it is not coming, then I will dig the road and I will check the pipeline is correct or not. Then it is whose responsibility laying the road? It is, there is some other department is there. You go and complain there. Those people will come and do that job, right? So the same way, these two have two different jobs, right? To have these two components, handler mapping and handler adapter, are having two different functionalities, right? Handler mapping will identify, it will prepare a list, okay? While application startup time itself, handler mapping will come, will prepare a sheet saying that, okay, today you go and dig these roads, you damage these roads, right? Then after some time, 6 months or some time, when the actual road people comes, right? The department comes, they lay the road again. So it's a two different jobs, two different components. The same way, handler mapping will prepare the sheet for request, for which HTTP method, which method has to get executed. Right? Its sheet will be prepared. So at runtime, the handler mapper will come and will take the help of this handler mapping, and it will go and identify the corresponding method, and it will execute it. Okay, so it's completely a different mechanism, which is for, I mean, it is purely dedicated to Spring MVC. Two components.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So, so handler mapping will get to know the details using the URI paths like internally.
It will scan actually. It will scan all the classes, and
Yeah.
it will scan all the classes which are having annotations controller, REST controller. It will scan all the methods which are having annotations, request mapping, get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, and it will take
Okay.
that request path and it will prepare some sheet.
Yeah, it's like a mapping, right? Like this particular URI and this kind of method, it will call this. So it will make something like a hash map and key value pair kind of thing, right? Between the request and the method to be called.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Like
It
in
will,
Jersey also we used to do
yeah,
something
it's a
like this.
Jersey also. It is same. Not only Jersey, not only Spring. Anything which is working in the scanning mechanism, it will be same. Okay. Yeah. So but the naming convention is completely different. If it is Jersey, it should not be handler mapping, handler adapter. It would be something different because that is a different framework, right? So in Spring
Yeah.
it is handler mapping and handler adapter. Handler mapping will prepare the the mapping, and the actual execution is going to be happened by handler adapter. Once handler adapter returns some string or something, some string or some view name. In the olden days, we used to have some view resolver, which takes care about rendering JSP pages, right? So that time we used to use these view resolvers, but now no view resolvers. It's going to be a direct response sending to the client. Okay, if we return JSON response, that JSON response will be sent as it easily. If you return XML response, that XML response will send as it easily. We will see how to send the JSON response, XML response, right? We can send both in the using single method. We will learn all those. Okay. So earlier in the olden days, we used to have this view resolver, but now no view resolver. It is a direct response flash to client. Okay. So other than these two, handler mapping and handler adapter, taking care about this request response controller, there are some other features also there. Default exception handler will be associated. Default view resolver. Right. So there are some default configuration is there. There is some default configuration is there. Okay. And apart from this handler mapping and handler adapter, the customization, we still have the servlet lifecycle. Okay, we still have servlet lifecycle, dispatches, load and startup at the time of application deployment, looking into web.xml file. If it is not web.xml file, then it should be web application initializer, right? The Spring Boot also, it's going to be web application initializer. They do some mechanism, and they finally register this dispatcher servlet as a servlet to server content. Okay, so whatever the same approach we wrote in the 20 years before, it is still same. The life cycle is not changed. The servlet life cycle still remains. Okay, if you have doubt, you just go to the code to open an existing .class file. Just type Ctrl+Shift+T and open dispatcher servlet. Okay, so it is a child of framework servlet. It is not a direct child to HTTP servlet. You just open this framework servlet. Framework servlet is child of HTTP servlet bean, and this HTTP servlet bean is child of HTTP servlet. Right? We saw this somewhere. Right? HTTP servlet. Whose implementation it is? Java x.servlet.http servlet API, right? So again, your dispatcher servlet also, it is a child of HTTP servlet. It is not direct child, it is an indirect child. So in between, we have some framework servlet, and this framework servlet will take care about loading. If you have doubt, you see some init method, right? Init, okay, init servlet bean. Actually, the init method should be here, I believe. See, some static content, it will be loaded while loading the class itself. Okay. Init, here it is not there, then it should be in the HTTP servlet. Init method, right? So this init method, whatever we discuss in servlet lifecycle, it starts from here. Okay. And finally, it goes and load all the configuration. Okay, so yeah, init servlet bean, we are calling this method. Actually, this is an uh, default implementation. The actual implementation will be there in the framework servlet. Framework servlet, right? Yeah, here is the actual implementation. So servlet context, we already know this, right? So there something is printing, initializing servlet. What is the servlet where it is initializing? So it will initialize the dispatcher servlet. It will initialize dispatcher servlet, and it is creating web application context. Web application context. So init framework servlet will go inside this method. Yeah, again, this init framework servlet should be there in the dispatcher servlet. The actual implementation. So let me copy this method. Go back. Okay. Mm, there is a important. Okay. Go back to where we are calling this method. We are calling here init framework servlet. Init framework servlet. Control T. Control C. Control O. But it is dummy implementation. Init web application context. Yeah. So we should be on refresh, set attribute, context attribute. 1 second. Let me check. All these are dispatcher servlet specific, local resolver, theme resolver, handler mappings. Okay, handler mappings, handler adapters, right? So we are talking only two, but there are so many are there, right? As part of initialization, view resolver, flash map manager. So some default configuration will be executed. It will also scan. Let me check the word scan. Let me check scan. Oh, let me start again. Init method we are calling. So there is some default configuration. Then we go to framework servlet. Okay, web application context is getting created, and we are calling init framework servlet. init servlet bean. Okay, init web application context. So we're gonna get a web application context created. Find web application context on refresh. Create web application context on refresh. Dispatcher servlet init strategies. It will go and execute all initialization, right? So handler mapping, default handler mapping is, if it is annotation, then it will map request mapping, handler mapping. If it is functional, it will map router function. Okay, router function. I'll show you the default mapping details also. Okay, so the word is not proper scan and all, so they were doing something here. Okay, I will check and get back to you. So they will scan all the packages, and they will scan um, all the classes which are having a controller at request mapping, and there is one sheet will be prepared automatically. So to check that, go to request mapping, handler mapping. Okay, so this will be called automatically. After property set. Okay, after property set. So yeah, path matcher, right? Use suffix after property set to get mapping for method. Okay, so for each mapping method, it will go and prepare that prepare sheet. Okay, you could see that some hash map here. Okay, map. So for this method, this class, this method has to be executed. Such a kind of mechanism will be prepared in this hash map. Okay, that will be stored and that will be prepared and stored here at runtime. This is going to be used by request mapping handler adapter. Okay, request mapping handler adapter. So this will use that map. Okay, request mapping handler adapter will use the map prepared by request mapping handler mapping, and it will execute that. Okay, somewhere you see invoke. Okay, invoke handler method. So this invoke handler method at runtime, it will execute that particular method. So method dot invoke something will be there. Yeah. Concurrent result something. You must drill down to the particular level. Okay, so it should be a very huge code. It's just like a Java reflection method dot invoke. So that's how the actual method will be getting executed. So the entire configuration will be loaded as part of dispatcher servlet initialization, right? It starts with HTTP servlet bean init method, and it internally calls init service servlet bean. It's actually implementation available in framework servlet. So here, as part of this, let me check the method name init web application context. Yeah, init framework servlet. Yeah, so init framework servlet, init web application context, init servlet B. Okay, so finally they will scan all the packages. They will scan all the packages and they will load all the mappings. And internally it triggers request mapping handler mapping. So this request mapping handler mapping, which is the child of handler mapping interface. Okay, so it prepares a map, right? All paths will be prepared and will be stored in a kind of hash map. At runtime, it's going to be used by request mapping handler adapter. Handler adapter will use that map and it will execute actual method by using reflection API. Method dot invoke, right? So that API, by using that API, it will execute. So that entire configuration will be loaded as part of application startup time itself, and that is the default with Spring Boot. Load and startup, nothing you don't need to configure. it will be automatically register this dispatcher servlet, and that registration is available in dispatcher servlet auto configuration. Dispatcher servlet auto configuration. It automatically registers that servlet. Okay, it sets some data. Yeah. So as part of the dispatcher servlet setting up, the default dispatcher servlet bean. Okay, this bean will be called somewhere in the web application context setup. It will be called. So there should be some other class which will take care about WebMVC auto configuration. Okay, WebMVC auto configuration. As part of the auto configuration, it calls that bean. Okay, dispatcher servlet bean will be called, and it will be set here. Default resource view resolver is this default view resolver is internal resource view resolver. Okay, some local resolver, message code resolver. This all things will be setting here, and you could see dispatcher servlet somewhere. Let me check it again. Okay, it's calling this auto configuration class. Okay, so where we are setting the dispatcher servlet to context. Might be in the dispatcher servlet. Okay, in the web application creation. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Anand.
Yeah, some echo is coming. That's right.
Yeah.
It's clear now.
Now
Okay.
it is fine.
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere here the dispatcher servlet will be configured. Get servlet context, get servlet name. Okay, I don't know the exact location. Yeah, but somewhere in the while creating the context and setting up the servlet context, right? So that time itself it loads that dispatcher servlet. Right, it's a huge code. So at a very high level abstract layer, so this is our dispatcher servlet, which is the child of framework servlet, and which is the again child to HTTP servlet bean, and it is child to direct child to HTTP servlet. So dispatcher servlet is indirect child to HTTP servlet. So there is a huge default configuration. It's going to be available. Okay, huge default configuration will be loaded, and that entire thing is going to be loaded as part of WebMVC auto configuration. As part of loading this WebMVC auto configuration, it will load after dispatcher servlet auto configuration call, right? Class. So as part of that, it registers dispatcher servlet as a friend controller. Okay. Just for a moment, I want to see the Tomcat also. I saw some code where you can call Apache Tomcat.star, something like that. We can't do the file search here, but it's like a normal thing. You can also start a Tomcat programmatically. Okay, you can also start a Tomcat. So the code looks something like this. Right. So Apache Tomcat. Okay, so you can create this Tomcat instance. Okay, you can add the servlet. Okay, I think it should be a new operator thing. We'll try this out. I think it cannot be instantiated. Okay, so you can call tomcat.start. So there is one Tomcat instance will be start automatically. So some try catch. Okay, and you can set some port also on what particular port you want to run. Okay, some default configuration you have to do. Okay, you have to do some configuration to run a particular, to run this servlet on a particular port. Okay, so that is what is Spring Boot also doing. Okay, there is nothing much. It's creating an object for Tomcat, and it is starting the Tomcat. and it is setting the default port, and it is setting the um, context part. Okay, you can do that even. um, you can set context, right? Add context. So it will be like this. So tomcat dot add context. So what is the context you want to give? Empty, right? So we right now we are not setting any context path. It can be an empty. So doc base also can be an empty. Okay. So now your tomcat will be running without context path, and they will start finally. And default port is 8080. If you want to set the port, you can do that, but that is like a little different. I mean, little more configuration you have to do. Okay, finally you destroy, like on successful, which is, I mean, uh, on clicking an event shutdown, you can call destroy method, then your Tomcat server will be shutting down. Okay, yeah, set host, set port, yeah, this one. You can set port 8085, and you can also just start, and on proper event trigger you can call shutdown. Okay, you can call shutdown. That's it. Stop everything. Yeah, stop. Okay, so this is how you can start if you want to start a Tomcat instance on your own. Okay, so that is what Spring Boot is doing. It is doing internally as part of Tomcat auto configuration. So when the application is fully ready, they are doing this code. Okay, nothing much complicated thing they are doing, but it's a very huge configuration, huge code, right? So we don't need to worry about all these things. Spring Boot itself is taking care about scanning the packages, loading the classes, loading the methods, request mappings, preparing the request mapping details, and at runtime it is using and creating one Tomcat instance, setting the context part, setting the port, starting the Tomcat, and shutting down the stopping the Tomcat and a proper event trigger, right? So all those things are going to be taken care by Spring Boot. If no Spring Boot, these things you have to do it by yourself. Okay, this is no Spring Boot, then these things you have to do it by yourself. Okay. Okay. So this is what is happening in the background. Okay, but very high level. If you are not able to understand code and all, it is fine, but at least you do remember this naming convention. Handler mapping, handler adapter. Handler mapping, handler adapter will take care about especially executing that particular method point of view I'm talking. Okay, so view resolver will take care about resolving the views. The default view resolver is internal view resolver. I'll show you the complete default configuration. Let's go to the documentation, Spring Boot, Spring Framework. Yeah, web servlet. The first section is dispatcher servlet, right? So as part of that, yeah, as part of dispatcher servlet configuration, I'll show you the default configuration. Context hierarchy, context config location. Anyway, this and all without Spring Boot, right? You don't need to worry. Yeah, so dispatcher servlet properties, right? So let me open this. Here we have the complete default configuration of dispatcher servlet. So what is the local resolver? Default local resolver, accept header local resolver. What is the theme resolver? Fixed theme resolver. There are multiple handler mappings are available. For annotation, we have request mapping, handler mapping. For functional endpoints, we have router function mapping. So we have different handler adapters. For annotations, we have request mapping, handler mapping. For functional programming, we have handler functional adapter. Okay. What happened, Anshuman? You are joining for every 10 minutes, 50 minutes, any network issue? Okay. Yeah. So default exception resolver is default exception resolver itself. Okay, any exception comes, it's going to be taken care by default handler exception resolver. Okay, and view resolver, default view resolver is internal resource view resolver. Anyway, we are not going to do this. Okay, so if any naming view name mapping required, it's going to be taken care by request to view name translator. Some flash map, some flashing we are going to use, then it's going to be session flash map manager. Okay, so this is what is the default configuration of Spring dispatches. Okay, so it's going to be loaded fully as part of dispatcher servlet initialization itself. Okay, so this is all about dispatcher servlet loading, how Tomcat is getting instantiated, right? How the request is mapping to a particular method, right? So this is all about Spring MVC or Spring Boot MVC lifecycle. So whatever there in the servlet, still it is there on top of that. So the Spring flow starts from initialization, from the Spring flow starts from initialization point onwards, you right? It loads handler mappers, it loads view resolvers, exception handlers, right? All those things will be settled as part of dispatcher servlet initialization. So when you send the request, it look into the web.xml file, it identifies dispatcher servlet. Okay, dispatcher servlet is already loaded, instantiated, initialized, right, as part of application startup itself. So it will directly go to the request processing. First it starts where. So for servlet, what is the starting point?
Sunil, can you repeat the question?
So for servlet, what is the starting point?
Production.
No, service method, right? The Java code execution, not main method, service method. So here also the flow will start from service method only. Inside service method, the handler adapter will be identified. This handler adapter will execute actual request mapping method. Okay, that response will be flashed up to the client. The response will be flashed up to client. Okay, as a JSON or XML or HTML, whatever it is, through resolver or without resolver. Okay, so this is all about dispatcher servlet lifecycle. Okay, so with this done, we are done with the theory. Okay, we will start writing a real microservice. Okay, can you do this parallelly with me? Okay, let's go to Eclipse. Take a new workspace. Okay, fresh workspace. Yeah. So I'll create workspace microservices. -8 okay, yeah, so microservices 8-15. So this is what your workspace is. So let's create a fresh workspace. Okay, let's create a project freshly and excuse me, start writing our first microservice. So what we're gonna write, we're gonna write a microservice mm, like this. Okay, this is what is our microservice. Okay, so we're gonna write a microservice for mobiles. Okay, for now no database. We will return some hard-coded data. For now no database. We will return some hard-coded data. So if you call get mobiles, we will return all mobiles. If you call get mobile by ID, we will return a particular mobile ID. If you call post with mobiles, so we expect that request body as mobile. So we will save that mobile information. And if you wanted to delete a particular mobile, we will delete that from that list. Okay. And if you want to update any mobile information, we will update it. Okay. Everybody, please try to open your Eclipse and open a fresh workspace. Okay. Yeah, we don't need any database, nothing required. We will mark the data for now. Okay, so let's create a Spring Starter project. So create new Spring Starter project. Yes. So let's give the project name as mobile service. Okay, mobile service. Yeah. Our group ID can be something like com.springboot. org.springboot.msk. Okay, so the service name and the project name both are mobile icon service. So the snapshot can be anything. Let's give some description, right? Mobile service microservice. Okay, and the base package, let's give org spring boot msk dot mobile. So here my spring boot application will be created. Shall I click next? Hello.
Yes, Sunil.
Okay. Is everybody doing parallel with me? Because this is what is the microservice we're gonna use. If you are not, I mean, if you are not interested to do now, at least you have to do after my session. Okay. This is what we're gonna use as part of microservices, where we do apply security, where we do the exception handling, right? So there are so many things, validations, database integration, everything is uh, going to be to this project. So we will start with one small concept, and we will, as we go at next module, we will apply the layers. So next, yeah, I want web web startup. Let's just select that. Click next. Click finish. Okay, it will take a while. Um, my Eclipse will take a while. As you are doing for the first time, might be it may take more time for you. I did this for so many times, so at least libraries won't be downloaded for me. To directly create the project structure and set up the dependencies. Ready.
Hi Sunil, did you
Yeah.
select Spring Web?
Yes. Starter is Spring Web. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Okay. Can I start writing the first um, service? Okay. Can I create? Is it done?
Yes, Sunil.
Okay. Yeah.
For me, it's only 25% done. So
Yeah. For the first time you are doing, it will take a while to download all the libraries, right? Yeah, it will be little slow.
yeah,
So yeah, you just yeah focus here like for a
that's
few
fine. You can
minutes.
start.
Yeah, you can do it once it is ready. Okay, so Spring Boot application, it's all going almost. I mean, it's going to be prepared by Starter Web itself, so we don't need to do anything here. So let's write our first controller. Let's write our first controller. Right. Sometimes I may be a little bit fast. Right. I'm doing this for so many times. I may go a little bit fast. Just let me know if I go fast. If you want to be like not able to follow me, just let me know. I will be slow. Yeah. So this is my first controller. Okay, I'll mark this as REST controller, right? So I will let you know what is the difference between controller and REST controller. Okay, so but for now let's mark this as REST controller. Okay, so let's start our first service method. Public. We gonna return list of mobiles, right? List of mobiles, and the API name is get all mobiles. Okay. Okay, so we don't take any parameters. You call this method, you will return you will return all the mobiles which are there in the database, right? So let's move this controller into the controller package, right? We will have multiple layers, right? So let's have a segregation from now. Controller should be moved to controller package. Yeah. Now we need to create one mobile.java, right? So we want to return a mobile information. So let's create a mobile.java and keep that inside model, right? Model package, not in the controller. Let's create mobile.java. Yeah, finish. Okay, so there is one mobile will be created. So let's add a couple of properties. Sorry. Okay. Private um, int ID, private string name, okay, private int price. Yeah, three parameters. Okay, three simple parameters. ID, name, price. Okay, let's generate setters and getters. Right click, source, generate getters and setters, select all, generate. Let setters and getters will be generated. I want one constructor also. Let's generate the constructor. Right click, source, generate constructor using fields. Yeah, generate constructor using fields. Yeah, there is one constructor will be generated. Somebody pinging on the chat. Any questions? Oh, I lost the share.
No, Sunil, I was saying like some issue in my internet, so that's
Yeah,
why
yeah, yeah.
in and out. But now it's fine. I restarted it.
Okay, good. Yeah, so yeah, we are writing one controller and one controller, one model. Okay, so we are going to return it back.
Sure.
Okay, in the controller we will return this list of mobiles. Okay, so we will write one service layer. Later we will integrate with the database. Okay, so let's write one mobile service. Yeah, as this is service, let's annotate with service annotation. Okay, so here I will prepare some mock data, right? List of mobile. Okay, so I think the mock data is already available in the GitHub. Just let me do copy paste. Okay, mobiles equals to new array list. So some mock data instead of wasting time but to type all these things, right? It should be mobiles. Okay, and we're gonna use it as post construct, right? So next immediate to my service object creation, this data will be available. So let's write a method public list of mobiles, right? Mobiles and all get all mobiles. You just return that mobile list back as this. Okay, just return mobile and mobiles. So these mobiles we are going to return back as this, right? We are using post construct to initialize the data. Yes. So from my controller, I call that service method. So let's auto while the service private mobile service. So here, what we will do, we'll just return mobile service dot data. Okay, and just annotate this using get mapping, no request mapping, right? We will do a HTTP protocol specific annotations are available, then we will directly use it. Okay, when client sends mobile, right, we will just return this method mobiles get method, then we will return all mobiles. So we are done with writing our first endpoint. So let's go to service. Let's move this to service module. Yeah, we are done with the development, right? So let's go ahead and test it. Okay, let's run our first microservice. Okay, let's go to application. Right click, run as Java. For now, we are just mocking the data. We are not yet learned how to connect to database, right? So that's why we are just doing this. But actually, in the real time, what we do, we get this data from the database or some other stuff. The Tomcat is started. Let's go to the URL and type localhost 8080 mobiles. Just hit send. You see the data method not sorry, it's a post. Yeah, see 405 error code, right? If we wrote a get method support, right? If you wrote a get method in the controller and you are sending a post method, you will get 405 method. So let's change this to get and send the request. You do get the data, right? Whatever the data we prepared, the data will be coming back as JSON response. So the default media return type is JSON for Spring Boot, right? Spring Boot, what is the default media type? Return type application slash JSON. Application slash JSON. Any questions? You are getting confused whether I do you need to watch my screen or do you need to type the code, right?
Yeah, correct. So in last were like in
I'm going
mobile
a bit.
service.
Yeah, you got stuck in mobile service, right? I'm just pinging this in the chat. You don't, yeah, you don't type everything, okay? You just put it. If you understood, it's okay. Yeah, at least this service part you can just control it, copy paste, okay? Yeah, so mobile.java, it's ID, name, price. Just right click source, generate getter setters, right click source, generate constructor, then go to controller and do get mapping mobiles, just call that. So service I already give. Now, so you just trigger this request, okay, you get the response back. Okay. Now, what is the URL we are using? Localhost mobiles. Then go to the sheet, right? But it is not localhost mobiles, right? We need to give some MSK in between. So what is that MSK?
Context path.
Yes, context path, right? So let's configure the context path. Once you are done with this, we will just add the context path and cross again. Is everybody completed?
It's Sunil, you are not pasted in chat, right?
I did in the Webex chat to everybody. Everyone in waiting room. Sorry. Everyone in meeting. So it went to waiting. Okay. Please check now. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
thanks.
got it.
Okay, I recommend you to do this because going forward it will be like this only. Like I may not wait this much time. You have to be a bit fast actually. You have to complete a bit fast. We'll write a couple of services and we will integrate them and we will call them and we will write a client which will make multiple service calls and give an integrated response back.
Mobile annotated with component.
No. That is model class. Don't annotate with component. Model classes,
Okay.
TTO classes, entity classes, never use any annotation. It's a plain Java. It has to be created by using new operator. Still new operator. Only no component, only controller, at rest controller, service, at service. That's it. No component I use. Model classes not supposed to be instantiated by Spring.
So, but why is there any problem with that? Like it will always instantiate a new object. That's why if we keep.
No, it is only one object, right? Component means it is a singleton, but we want multiple objects to be created, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
it
it.
depends upon the data. At runtime data, the count will change. Component means it is a single instance, and that this is different. Like data processing purpose, right? These are not application logic classes. These are model classes where it holds the data. When the data is available on demand, we will create that object. Is it done? Let me pass the card. Okay. Let's go to application.properties file. Okay. Delete the static templates and are not required. Yeah, just add servlet servlet.context server.servlet.context path equals to MSK. So you can give any name. You can give any name. Make sure you are giving a slash. Okay, if you don't give the slash, what will happen? We'll see, right? We will run the application, and without slash, what will happen? There is some exception, right? Context path must start with slash and end with slash. So let's go to application.properties file. So just give slash first and slash last. Okay. So the context path must start with slash and not end with slash. Right? Don't add this last slash. Just it's a slash msk. Yeah. So you just run the code. Now you will get. Okay, so the service is started. So now we can hit by using MSK. So still you get the same response, right? So now we achieved whatever. Hello.
Yes, no.
I hope you added the same, right? You got the same thing, right?
So then even if we don't give a context path now, it will work, right?
No. But our intention is creating.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
can.
asking.
But
Okay.
our intention is meeting this requirement.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Without context path, it worked. We tried already, right? So with context
No.
path, we are trying.
No, in application.properties, we have given this server.servlet.context path equal to MSK. Okay. And if I run the URL without MSK, that time will it work? Just remove that MSK and see.
Oh, that's what you're asking. No.
So it's not working. No?
Yeah. So that
it
is.
will not.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Okay. Now you get the data. Okay. So we configured, right? So we are done with writing one endpoint. Yeah. You focus now. I will complete the remaining endpoints. You can do it after this training completion. Okay. So I will quickly complete the remaining endpoints implementation, right? So now our next endpoint implementation is getting a particular mobile by ID. Getting a particular mobile by ID. So what I will do, I'll just do get mapping. Okay, get mapping, and it's going to be mobiles, and I want to collect a particular mobile ID. So it's going to be public. You're going to return one mobile, right? Which is matching to that particular ID. It should be one mobile. Return type should be one mobile instead of list of mobiles. So get mobile by ID. So method name can be anything, but let's give a meaningful name convention. Right? Get mobile by ID. So let's collect this mobile ID, right? So wrap this mobile ID with curly braces. So whatever you are wrapping with the curly braces, that is a path variable, right? Path variable. In Jersey, it is a path param. In Spring, it is a path variable. So here, actually, in the documentation, I give mobile ID, right? So let's change that mobile hyphen ID, I small. So there is an hyphen separated between ID. Yeah. So now let's assign this right to a string or int. So let's take it from mobile ID from the URL and assign it to an int variable called mobile ID. Okay. And finally, we need to return a particular mobile from the mobile service. So let's write another method, mobile service dot get mobile by ID. So that method is not written. So we will write that. Okay, so let's pass the mobile ID. Okay, let's add that method, create a method in the mobile service. Yes. Okay. So what we will do from this mobile, okay, yeah, you can do something like this, right? For iterate each mobile from mobiles, okay, mobiles, check any ID is matching. If mobile dot get ID equals to mobile ID, whatever the client sent. Okay, if both are matching, then return that particular mobile. Right? Return that particular mobile. If the mobile is not matching, then return null. Mobile is not matching, then return null. Right? So in the controller, we pass some ID and we will pass forward that ID to service. In service, we do just iterate it. We do just iterate it, and if the mobile is found, then we will return. Otherwise, we will return null. Let's go to mobile application. Right? Just mobile application, mobile service application Java, run as Java application. Yeah, it started. Let's go to Postman, and this time mobiles working fine. Let's give some mobile ID 1. You'll get that particular mobile information. 2, you'll get that particular mobile information. Right? Some 15 that won't be there, so you will get a null. Right? You will get a null return back. But this is not a good way of doing, right? So if the mobile is not found, we should saying that okay, whatever the ID you are passing, it is not available, right? So what we must do, we must throw some exception. If the mobile not found in the database, we must throw the exception. But anyway, this is Java 1.5 of doing the things, right? Way of doing the things. What we will do, we will convert this into Java 8 model. Okay, we will convert this into Java 8. So first, get the list, stream, filter by mobile ID, or find, we'll check any method available, find one, find any, all match, any match, find any, right? Find any, find first. Yeah. So let's call find any, no, we need to filter, we need to
Find
apply
first.
we need to apply some, first means you will get the first parameter. We need to apply some condition, right? So yeah, then apply filter only. So we need to write some condition. If mobile, right? So some condition you have to do. So if mobile ID is matching with the mobile ID, the the client passed, then return that. Okay, then now find first. Okay, find first. So it's going to return some optional. So my data may present or data may not present. Optional means data may present and data may not be present. May present or may not present. Optional. Java.util.optional. Okay. Give a short notation. m.getID. Okay, so we're going to filter. If data found, return. If data is not found, for example, if data is not found, right, is present, not present, right, then add exclamatory icon. If data not present, throw new, okay, throw new runtime exception, right, throw new runtime exception and give a meaningful message, right? So what we can say, mobile not found, given, okay, just add that mobile ID also. Okay, and finally, last you return mobile dot get. If it is not there, we will throw exception. If it is there, we will return the ID. So let's test this. It started. Now let's go try the positive scenario first, get the data. Now let's try the negative scenario. You get some exception, right? So 500 internal error. What is the message we are throwing? Mobile not found with a given mobile ID. Mobile not found with a given mobile ID. So this is somewhat good, right? If the mobile not found, so we are returning some error back, right? So that mobile ID, whatever you are trying, that is not available. Anyway, we're not supposed to return 500 and we should return a proper error message and we will learn that as part of exception handling. Okay, as part of exception handling, let's go with the default exception handling now, right? We learned already. Dispatcher servlet has support of the default exception handler. That is the reason why if you go back, you see some big stack trace printed on the console, but to the front end we are giving a beautified JSON data. That's interesting. Any doubt?
No, sir. No, sir.
So if in the background we got some big exception printed, but in the front end we give a beautified JSON response. Right? Who converted that exception to this beautified response? It is a default exception resolver, right? Who converted this back to any user to understandable file, right? But anyway, we don't give 500 error code for these kind of errors. So that is going to be a proper exception handling. We will do it. That we will learn later. Okay. So now we completed second API also. Let's go and complete the remaining two APIs. Right? Saving, updating, deleting. So yeah. Now let's add saving. So it should be post mapping, right? Saving means post mapping. So we will save the data and we will say like we saved it properly, right? We will say we saved it properly. We don't return anything back. So public void save mobile. So give a meaningful naming convention. Save mobile to save mobile method, and it's going to be mobiles. So now let's do one thing. Save mobile. Okay. Yeah. So this request should, right? We should take the mobile as body. Method body should accept the mobile. Mobile should come from the client. Like which mobile he wants to save. Right? We will save that into the list. Mobile service save mobile. Okay, we will pass this mobile. Yes. Let's create this method. Okay. Then existing we will add return mobile. Okay, we don't return anything. Yes. Return mobile. Return list dot add mobile. Yes. So whatever which is coming from the front end, it's not listed, it's mobiles. We are just adding it. Right? We are just adding it. No need to return anything. No need to return anything. So no need to return anything. The return type itself is void. Right? We saved successfully. So when you save successfully, right? If it is if I don't return anything, for example, if I don't return anything, what will happen? We will return the status code of 200. If we get 200, which he has to consider, okay, the mobile saved successfully. If there is not 200 status, right? He has to consider mobile is not saved successfully. But the problem here is like we will send the post request something like this, right? So get we are done. Now let's go to the next request post. In the body, you will set that, right? So first of all, we will get one data. We will get one mobile and we will change the data, right? So let me start the application. Okay, let me start the application first. First, let's get a particular mobile. Okay, send. We got one mobile, right? Now let's save. Okay, so send the post request. In the body, click raw section, change this drop down to JSON. Okay, text to JSON. Copy from down to the top. Okay, so mobile ID I think we added till 7. Let's add 8. Let's add a different mobile called Nokia and give price something like 15,000. Okay, Nokia. price 15,000. So now this body has to be converted into a mobile, right? This body, this request body has to be converted into this mobile. So by defaultly, it won't happen. Then what you should do, you have to add it request body, right? You have to add a request body allocation. So what Spring will do, it will take the request content from this body, right? Request body, and it will be mapped to your mobile.java. Okay, so let's just trigger. I think to reflect the changes. What should I do? I should stop this and restart. I will provide the solution in the next couple of minutes. So many times we are restarting, right? For every small change, stopping, starting. It's unwanted headache, right? We will do some magic, then it will be auto restart whenever we do the change. Okay. So we just, yeah, and we are going to save the next entity. So, but before that, I will show you how many mobiles are there, right? So let's copy this and just send it. So we have only seven mobiles. Nokia 6.2 is there. So let's add Nokia 7, something like that, right? Nokia 7.0, something like that, we can add. Okay, just add a different mobile with a different price. And if you send, right, you got success 200, which means that mobile is saved into the database. Right now, you just go and click send. Now you see after clicking the send, you will get eighth mobile coming, right? So eighth mobile get added. So if is there any problem while saving the mobile, you will get not 200 error code. But for saving mobiles or saving the data, profile creation and all, it is better to give a different status instead of 200, right? So how we can do that? We can do that by using response status annotation. And here you can specify what status you want to give. So I want to give the code, right? Code value equals to http status dot created, right? Created. So what is the created status code? 201. So instead of giving 200, we will give 201. So if it is 201, then we will say, oh, it's added successfully, it's created successfully. Okay. Yeah. So let me save this. So even though I'm saving, the changes are not going to reflect because what is the problem? Because we're gonna, yeah, we need a restart, right? This is really a big hectic problem. Okay, there is one topic, right, like auto configure. I told you we will discuss in when we write our first microservice, right? What was the topic? Do you remember that?
Developer tools.
Exactly, developer tools, right? Now we will add the developer tools. Then you will understand what is the benefit with the developer. We no need to take care about all these restarts. We just add the developer tools. Then Spring Boot will automatically restart your application when you modify the code. Let's go to developer tools. Okay, just add this dependency. Okay, just add this dependency in the form.xml file. So in the going forward, whenever we write next developer, next microservice, we will add first itself, right? How we are adding web, like that we will add developer tools also. Okay, so yeah, now we have added, right? So for very first time, let's restart. This is going to be our last restart. Going forward, any changes we do, right? Going forward, any changes we do, it will be restarted automatically. Okay. Now it's started, right? So let's do some change. Right? Let's print the mobile data which we are sending to the server on the console, right? So let's print it, right? We are doing some modification. So earlier we used to restart the server, but now as soon as I save, let me clear the console before saving the file. As soon as I save the file, it will be automatically restarted, right? Restarted. So it is internally has some live reload, right, mechanism. So developer tools will automatically restart your application if you modify anything on the application. Okay, any class path, any file, application.properties, whatever the file. On the class path, if you modify any file, developer tools will automatically restart your application. Okay. Now let's go to the Postman and let's say one more mobile. Right, this time mobile ID is 9, and let's add some iPhone, iPhone 7X, something like this. The price obviously not 15, 20,000. It should be like some 90, 95, some more, right? So yeah. Let's click send. You see that now you receive 201 instead of 200 because in the response status we added created, right? We added created, so you get a different status code. It's good, for post methods, it's good to return 201. For created, save, insert, right? Insert, create profile, insert profile, right? So those kind of things we must give created. So which means we successfully processed and saved your data. If there is some problem, we'll throw some exception so that the client can understood. Okay, while saving this data, there was some problem. Okay, now let's go to get mapping and you just pull the data. Now you will see that ninth mobile, right? That ninth mobile is added. So we are able to successfully save the data. Now let's update it, right? Save and update is almost the same. Save and update is almost the same. What we will do, it's instead of save, we will change this to update. Okay, update, and you pass an existing mobile with the price update allow. So it will be, you can call save, you can call add method also, no problem. Okay, or else you can call set, right? Set means it will do the update. Let me check what is the exact method. Mobiles.set. So you need to identify the index, right? So first get the index. So first get the index. Mobiles.get index. There should be some method to get the index once again. Get ID. No, it's not mobile. So mobiles dot. If you pass index, it is returning mobile object. Set. Is there any method
Index
like
of is it? Index of.
Index of, and you pass mobile. You pass mobile. I think we need to override equals method for this. Okay. Yeah, we'll try this, right? We will get an index. Index anyway. We will change this later, right? Anyway, it will be database code. We will change this. For now, let's continue. Okay. And this return type also void. We will update and we'll say, okay, we updated successfully. Or if you want to give that updated data back, you can give mobile, right? So let's change the method. Save is not save, right? Let's go ahead and add one more method. Update method. Create a method. Update method. Or change the directly save. Yeah. It's going to be blind add. Below it is set. Okay. Got set. We pass the index and element is mobile. Okay. We will save the successfully. I mean, we will return the updated data back, and this time you give a return different response also. Like 200 you will give, or you can give updated something available, right? If you don't want to return any data, you can say no content also, right? So 204. So we will update and we will return nothing. So later you can come and do a get mapping, and you can just get method call, and you can get that information. So that is also possible. So similarly, you can implement delete. Delete for now. Delete we take ID, right? So it's going to be at delete mapping. HTTP method specific implementation is available. So you just use that, right? So going to be mobiles. We collect the mobile ID, right? Just go to the contract delete mobile IDs. So it's going to be direct mobile. Let's keep this as it is. So we don't need to specify any path variable name, right? So it's going to be curly brace mobile ID. Okay. Public return void or else boolean whether we successfully deleted or not. Okay. For now, let's return a default value true. Okay. I don't want to delete the data from the collection. Okay. Delete mobile by ID. If you want to provide, you can provide one more API also, delete all, and you just call clear method. But anyway, we don't delete the data right in the real time. So
Sunil, for update mobile, like what is the response status?
200. If you don't specify anything, it's going to be default 200.
Are we going any
Hmm?
like no content or something we are giving?
No. It's a 200. No content means 204. So if you want to return no content, then change the return type to void. You're supposed to return nothing. No content means you will return nothing. So then change response status to value. So we'll say 204 no content, which means we have successfully updated your data. Right? No content. So it's going to be no content. So return nothing. Okay. So you're not supposed to return any content, and you must inform. Okay, 204 is the success status. You get the mobile ID and see the last time we added path variable. So we have hyphen separated, right? Hyphen is not allowed in the Java naming convention. That's why we defined a property. But in the case of if both the property and variable are same, then a path variable is enough. No need to specify anything. So by default, return true, right? All the same. Okay, we'll say successfully deleted. So this deletion part we will take care in the database integration, right? The deletion part will be taken care as part of database integration. So finally, we are done with writing our first microservices. Get mobiles by ID, get mobile, save mobiles, right? Update mobile by as a delete mobile by ID. So instead of typing these mobiles for a couple of times, what we will do, we will do this mapping at class level. Request mapping, the default is mobiles. Okay, then we can delete, right? It's a blind get mapping. So if it is a mobiles get mapping, this method will execute. Mobiles get mapping slash mobile ID, then this method will be executed. If it is mobiles post mapping, then the below method will get executed. Mobiles, it's put mapping, not post, right? Update should be put mapping. Then this fourth method and delete mapping mobiles mobile ID. So mobile already specified, right? So mobile ID will get executed. It will execute. It will delete that. Okay. Yeah, you just try all these four options. Okay. So we are. I mean, you completed one, right? The remaining four you have to complete. So that is what is an assignment for you. Okay. So with this, we are done with the basic implementation. Simple for request mapping, auto wide annotation, get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, response status, right? But there are so many things are there. For example, yeah, so there are a couple of annotations are covered here. REST controller covered, request mapping, get mapping, post mapping, put delete, patch mapping, right? So patch mapping means we apply some patch. Yeah, so this I will teach you tomorrow. Consumes and produces, right? So consumes means what data we gonna consume. Service provider, right? We means we are service provider. What data we consume. So what data we consume, whatever the client send, right? So we can say, hey, send me the JSON data, send me the XML data, right? So that we can say by using it consumes thing. And if you want to give a particular data, right, like XML data you want to give, JSON data you want to give, then produce, right? What data you going to produce, what format that can be specified in produce. So the default annotation, the default is application JSON. If your entity is having any annotations, like XML annotations, then it is going to be in XML. Okay, so this is what is the default pattern. So tomorrow I will show you one method. 1 second, I just got it out. We are recording, right? I got it. Okay. Yeah, we will write one method, and that single method will give both JSON data, XML data. That I will show tomorrow. Okay, so there is only one method. You call that method and you say I want JSON data, then it will give JSON data. You call that method I want XML data, the same method will give an XML data. How we can achieve that? By using this consumes and produce that I will show tomorrow. But for now, I will cover what is the difference between controller and REST controller. At least we can close this side. Tomorrow we can jump to the news slide. Okay. So in few days back, we used to write this controller. Like still some people try to do it, but that is not recommended. Right? When you do controller, and you are trying to do, you are trying to write RESTful web services, right? For example, you are connected with controller and you want to give some mobile data, list of mobiles data to the back to the client. Okay, let's run this code and see what will happen with controller. The application started. So let's go and call all mobiles, right? Get all mobiles. Okay. So there is some exception will come. Okay. Circular path to mobiles did not dispatch back to MSK mobiles. Yeah. So what is the error it came? It thrown check your view resolver. What is the error it thrown? Check your view resolver. So when you are using a controller annotation, so to return a JSON data, by default, the things will work as like REST controller. Okay. So what you have to do, you must add one more annotation to your return type saying that response body. Now we can, okay, now we are instructing to the string saying that, okay, for this controller, this method will return a list of mobiles. Don't use any view resolver, just send this as back to the customer directly, right, to the client. So this is the final response, right? So this is what is the response body. So whenever you are using controller, your method should return response body to write any RESTful web service. If I send test to the same thing, you will get the response. Okay, so controller is a combination of, REST controller is a combination of controller plus response body. So you don't need to do this extra code if you just type REST on top of your controller class, right? So this response body has to be added to each method level. So this is not a good, right? This is not good way of doing the things. If you just annotate with a REST controller, then things will.
Sunil, so if we are using controller, so the Spring is expecting the by default view resolver thing. That's what it was giving error, right? If we are using controller, then Spring need some kind of view resolver to handle the data, like to handle the response, right?
No, it is there. Default resolver is internal resource view resolver. So it will try to map that internal resource view resolver. So there is some exception while processing that internal resource view resolver. I showed that the dispatcher servlet default configuration. What is the default view resolver for dispatcher servlet? Internal resource.
No, but we got the error, right? So there is no we didn't define it that's why it is giving error, right?
It is there, but while processing that internal resource view resolver, you are getting an.
Okay.
Okay, so to solve that problem, anyway, Java is now pure for service oriented, right? We are using for purely writing for services. So whenever you are using controller, then make sure if you written any POJOs like string or any mobile or any product and just use it at the response body. But that is not good programming practice, right? That is not standard. If it is a RESTful web services, then annotate your controller with the REST controller itself. That is fine. Okay, so automatically Spring will understand, okay, this is going to be RESTful web services. Whatever the return is going to be returned from this method, right? Whatever the return type which is going to be returned from this method, that's going to be the final response, which will be flashed to the client. It will be automatically taken. Okay, So REST controller is a combination of controller plus response body. So, but there are some other features also there where we don't use in our microservices, but I will show different examples for them. Okay, path variable we already learned, right? Request body we already learned, but there are some other alternatives as there for request body, right? So we will complete all these things tomorrow by looking into a different example, because we can't implement everything in one project, right? That too in our microservices. So the features are limited, so we can use whatever is recommended. We can't implement all the features, but I will show different examples for those concepts. Okay, so based on your requirement, you have to implement the feature in your project. Okay, so I cannot guarantee which will be used, which one will not be used. Like mostly in the real time, like 70 to 80% of the concept will be used. Like, but some concepts may not be used. So in our requirement, for our requirement, like 30 to 40 concepts are enough, because if we started implementing everything, then it's going to be a real time big project, right? So we can't develop that much big project. So we will write small microservices and do a simple setup. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Any questions on whatever we discussed till now? So today's assignment is completing this mobile service. I will send an email, right? I hope you already completed one. Complete the remaining endpoints. Whatever you completed now, you have to complete those remaining endpoints before you come attending the session. Okay, then we will apply some interceptors, filter, right? Like we will log the time, how much time it is taking. Then we will do cross origin. Then we will do yeah, we are complete with this, right? Yeah, we will add some documentation, right? So there are two documentations are available. The latest is OpenAPI. So we will add some documentation to our RESTful web services. Then uh, we will write a client. Okay, we will write a client to fetch that to get the data. Right now, how we are getting it using Postman. Sometimes you have to consume the service, right? So how you gonna consume that also we will see. Then finally, we will write our functional endpoint model, RESTful web services with functional endpoint. So with this, we can close this Spring UAS. Any questions?
Fine, Sunil.
Sunil, so like in the previous slide, so there is something called a response body and response entity. Like, what is the difference actually?
I will cover. We didn't discuss it, right? I will teach that tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes we will return response entity. Okay, I will show where to use. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Vijay. Yeah, Vijay. We will learn Eureka and all. That is part of microservices. Once you are done with, so the plan here is going to be we will have we will write 3 microservices. One is mobile service. Okay, and we have country service. So this mobile will have country code also. We'll get that country code and we will pass to this mobile country service and get the country information. You will write another microservice like mobile accessories, right? So you call this mobile accessories and get the accessories information. Okay, accessories information, and so actually all 3 are individual. So we will write a client. From this client, we will make all these 3 calls and get the response and club it. Okay, we'll call this client is again another microservice which call all these 3 services and we'll give a clubbed response. And this client is going to be a reactive program. So here we will use Spring Reactive Program. Okay, so here it's going to be Spring Reactive Programming, and we will call this using reactive programming. Okay, we will call those 3 services by using Spring Reactive Programming. Okay, so while after developing all these 3 services, then we will learn, like if you deploy multiple mobile services, what is the challenge will come, how we going to solve it, and some data you want to pass dynamically, right? And like client side load balancing, how you do, server side load balancing, how you do. Okay, so those things we will learn about it. But one thing is all these features are there, right? All the challenges you're gonna get in the microservices, we have Spring features available to handle it, but fortunately we don't use all these things in the real time. Okay, so Kubernetes has all the solutions for these problems, microservices problem. The services like load balancing, failure mechanism, auto scaling, all those features are already available in the services already available in the K8s. Mostly, mostly the configuration team will use these K8s features. But anyway, as developer, at least you must know the functionality wise, what is the problem and how we're gonna address it, that by using Spring. But anyway, that is going to be our last topic, like microservices. In last 10 days, we will discuss those topics. What are all the challenges will come? Actual, what is the architecture? What is the challenges will come? How are we going to address? But before that, we should complete all this development, like full database integration, calling the service, fetching the information. Okay. So we just now today we started our first microservice, mobile service. Okay, and we are it's a dummy data, not even live data, right? So later we will do database integration, and this microservices also. But first microservice we do this one, that Spring Data JPA. Here we use MySQL database, and we use Spring Data JPA for database connectivity. For country service we use Spring JDBC. Okay, different the database integration. If possible, mobile accessory we will try to implement using reactive programming, and we will try to use some MongoDB. Okay, so MongoDB we will try to use here. So NoSQL with Spring reactive programming, SQL MySQL with Spring Boot and Spring Boot MVC and Spring JDBC, MySQL with Spring Boot and Spring Data JPA. Okay, and we will apply JWT token for our security. Okay, we will apply JWT token, and we will do some validations, right? We do some validations, and some kind of so if you want, you can write one SOAP service, but I don't want to integrate SOAP service, right? I just have one example. It's not, I don't want to use that for microservice. If possible, we will try to convert that into one microservice, and we will integrate on SOAP also, right? SOAP, Spring Boot, SOAP web services. All these are RESTful web services. If you want, we can add one more service, which is SOAP. Okay, yeah. But anyway, from today, the things will change, guys. You have to do hands-on. You have to do complete the assignments. Okay, if you don't complete the assignments, then the things will be different, little different. Okay, so going forward, you see a lot of code in your microservices, right? Today we started one line code, but going forward we will start integrating so many lines, like multiple services will come. Okay, so multiple layers, security, we will apply exception handling, we will apply. So many things are going to be added to your microservices. So start changing these microservices on daily basis, so you will be up to date. Okay, you will understand the training properly. Okay, any questions?
Sunil, one question. When we are getting the request as JSON, right, that time how do we do a validation? Like schema validation we do for XML, right, using XSP.
Server side you are asking?
Yeah.
No, it is actually not a JSON. It's going to be an object, Java object. So client will send the JSON data. Internally, okay, internally there is one concept is there, message converter. Okay, there is a
JSON to HTTP message converter, right?
there are so many message converters.
Okay.
Okay, so the concept is message converter. Let me open this initializer. So this is one message converter, right? Yeah, form HTTP message converter, HTTP message converter. Okay, yeah, HTTP message converter. So this will convert your HTTP message into a particular target. So by defaultly, it's going to be mapping JSON to HTTP, mapping JSON to HTTP message converter. So this is what is the default message converter in Spring, right? So what will happen when you send a JSON data or XML data, that will be converted into a Java object, right? So there is an internal operation is going to be happen. what it does, what does this HTTP message converter will do? You send some JSON string, right? From the post, when we are sending actually a JSON string, right? In the post request, we send a JSON string. This is not a Java object. But in the Java code, we are getting it as a Java object, right? Somebody is converting the JSON into this Java object. Who is that somebody? It is HTTP message converter. So there are so many HTTP message converters are there. Byte array, string, okay? Byte array, string. So byte array means image upload and all, right? Image upload, video upload. So it's going to be this byte array. Okay. But by default it is JSON. So byte array and all you have to take care explicitly. You need to pass some header parameter. Based on the header parameter, that particular message converter will take care about that conversion. Okay. So
based on the application context, media type, it will convert it.
Yeah, content type. I will show that tomorrow. Okay. So we will.
Okay.
I told, right, one method will serve JSON response and XML response. But how? Right? How the client will request I want JSON data. How the client will request I want XML data. Right? And whenever the client posting the data, how we going to specify? Right? He said here. I said just select the drop down JSON. So go to header parameters. When you select this JSON in the header parameters, at the content type we are sending that applications/JSON, which means we are instructing the server saying that I am sending JSON data. So it will invoke HTTP message converter for JSON, right? So the default is mapping Jackson to HTTP message converter. Mapping Jackson HTTP message converter will automatically convert the JSON into a Java object. A JSON into Java object. Okay, and this also supports plain XML conversion also, but you need to add some annotations that we will see tomorrow. Okay, how to convert that. Okay, and going forward, the things are going to be will change a lot. You know, for client interaction, we will give one mobile, one information, right? For example, now posting, it's going to be things will be different. You know, going forward, we don't give ID, and this is not the actual mobile information. So the actual mobile information looks like this, right? So name, price, status, line of business, country code, right? When it got published, publication there, right? So there are 5 to 6 parameters, and ID is not visible to the client, right? So ID is auto generated by the database, so ID won't be there, right? So we will add validations, the schema will change. So going forward, the things will change, right? Day by day, there is a lot. There are so many improvisations are going to be happening in our microservices. This is not real-time code. It's not even like considerable code. So this is the starting. We are doing it. Going forward, you see like lots of changes are going to be happening. Okay, we will discuss day by day.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil.
Yeah. I hope I answered your question, Vijay. Right? It's a HTTP message convert.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Already we are 6 minutes late today. Sorry. Tomorrow sharp 8:15. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Sunil.
Yeah, thanks.